All right, let's see. Is everything up yet? Okay, let me check to see that everything's actually up. Okay, Twitch is up. Let's see, Kick just went live. YouTube is public. Good. Okay. But YouTube seems to be... Oh, wait, hold on. Is it going? Ah, there we go. All right. Okay, let me make sure I have what I need. Probably the Cyberpunk Dingo will probably be best after that. Let's close that down. Curious if Leaflet talked. Oh my god, that stupid meme. Curious if Leaflet talked about the fire situation. Because then I can kill two birds with one stone there. Does not look like it. Good evening, Spartanbach and Kionala. Damn, y'all got here early, right? Just trying to make sure that Leaflet didn't have anything relevant to the thing I wanted to talk about, right? All right, so I at least have plans to record one episode of something at least right now. But I also did start significantly later than normal, so right. Like, I mean, at least if you get messages from YouTube, that definitely helps because let's just say Aiden Paladin figured out some of the ways that YouTube has been throttling channels, and luckily that means that mine probably isn't being throttled like hers is, which is a damn shame because hers is actually really good. Let's see. So right now I want to talk about the fires in Japan, right? Go here actually, that way we can make sure we actually have it. Here we go. All right. So 3, 2, 1. Hello. So today we are going to discuss the recent influx of fires in Japan, right? Now, granted, it's all over the X because X allows, again, the Japanese and the American and the Western English speaker to, talk to each other, which has been a boon, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, so right now, this is the one that actually popped in my feed earlier, right? This is Nyan Shu. It says, I can't stop crying. Another temple burned. Another temple burned. Another temple burned. So, like, again, repetition for severity's sake, right? When this happens this many times, can we really call it a natural fire? Who did this? Who burned it? Now, it brings up, can we call this a natural fire? And yes, this is what exactly they're talking about, right? Again, these historical buildings, right? Whether or not you believe in Shinto or not, I'm going to be perfectly honest, I highly doubt there's any Shintoists in my audience, right? Or Shintoka, as it would be, doesn't really matter, right? Because even if you would, even hypothetically speaking, right, if you wanted to, let's say, get Japan to become a Christian nation, right, you could still convert the temples into churches. It wouldn't be that extraneously hard, right? But yeah, there's no reason to destroy these buildings. And obviously it's not the Japanese doing it, so maybe it's a natural event, right? I highly doubt it, but this is something that's covered on here in Chika Porogu. God, it's a tongue twister. Chika Porogu. Okay. Kionalo says, like, people I watch say they are being throttled, but I always get their vids and messages. Weird. Fair enough. That is not natural. Oh, yeah, of course it's not natural, right? I'm just saying, some people are saying it's natural, and I don't believe it for a second, right? But we're going to go through this first, and we're going to go back to the tweet, and then we're going to look at what Cyberpunk Dingo and Kirsche have to say about it. I have a sneaking suspicion Cyberpunk Dingo is going to have a stronger grasp on what's going on than Kirsche is, but that's just because Cyberpunk Dingo actually has a deep understanding of Islam, right? And I have a sneaking suspicion this is a problem from a specific community. Hold on, but before we continue, I just realized, is my chat hold on, is it doing the thing where it's not showing me from, oh my goodness, hold on, I gotta fix this thing with ProChat again because ProChat is a bastard. Okay, hold on, let me see if I can fix this. This was supposed to make everything easier. Why is it always just being a pain in the rear? Okay, let's make sure the channel, it says this is offline, which is definitely not correct. So I guess I am going to have to reset ProChat, which is, again, at this point, I mean, Stream Elements looks like it's going to be closing down soon, but damn, or at least it's threatening to, but okay, let's remove the channel. Okay, turn that off. Go to Twitch, username. What the it kicked me out. Okay, that's exceedingly annoying. Okay, now let's connect again. Okay. Okay, Twitch is now on for some reason. Hello, Bogu92. Okay, so now that that is fixed, let me see if I can fix the kick. Because it should be showing me kick as well. I got this thing for the very specific purpose of showing me these three chats at the same time, and if it's not going to do it, then I'm going to have to find an alternative that preferably works better. Let's see. It might also just be a thing where it's like it doesn't receive anything until, but that doesn't make any sense. It says my kick is offline. Waiting for channel to go live. Okay, that doesn't make any sense because I am live. Okay, remove channel. Let's re-add kick again. Okay, now all three are on. Fucking finally. This ProChat is becoming a little bit more annoying than I anticipated. Hello, Crimson Rain 14. So, yeah, long story short, right? Let's get back to the clusterfuck. But how does one stop Islam for good? I actually already did a video on that. I think I have like a 5-hour video on Islam in particular. Or actually, it was it was on Iran, right? And I was talking about how Islam is a self-correcting problem because it's collapsing. Like, people don't really understand how quickly the Muslim world is actually falling apart from the inside. It's just a lot of these countries, if you apostatize from Islam, they put you to death, right? So you can't say it out loud. But like in Iran, for example, there is a huge wave of apostasy that's been going on for quite a while. So it's a very realistic possibility that in the future Iran may not be a Muslim nation just by the fact that, like, again, people just don't believe in Islam anymore, right? Or at least like the people in general don't. So this is more of a, you just gotta wait it out, to be perfectly honest. It is correcting itself. But, okay. So this is an article I wanted to bring up, right? So it says, are there more fires in shrines and temples? Summary of recent fire causes, incidents, and damage. This is the Japanese article. I had it translated to English, so hopefully the translation is fine, right? So it says, I was watching the news, and I was like, what? There's another fire at the shrine or temple? Have you ever had a bad feeling? In fact, just over the past 6 months or so, there have been so many major fires burning down entire main halls at historic temples and shrines across the country. The fires are so frequent that social media posts are asking, is this really a coincidence? Maybe someone is setting fires on purpose. Disturbing rumors are circulating, suggesting incidents of arson. So this time, the public is whispering many mysterious fires in shrines and temples. Now, to be clear, the shrines are usually associated, when you hear someone talk about like shrines in Japan, these are usually associated with Shinto, right? So these are like the jinja. Whereas in Japan, when you hear people talk about temples, they're usually talking about Buddhist temples, right? So these are talking about attacks on Shinto and Buddhist, which are the two main religions historically in Japan. That particular history. Let's see. We have thoroughly investigated the current damage situation, the cause of the fire, and even dark side of crime prevention. Are there recent numbers of fires really just my imagination? Let's check it out together right away to help you sort out the confusion. Oh my god. So it's not a very long article, right? You can see the summary right here at the table of contents. So, here we go. Are there many fires at shrines and temples? Recent fire summary. When I watch the news on TV, I think another fire at a shrine or temple. Are there more and more moments when you feel surprised? Let's see. If you actually look into it, there have been a lot of major fires at historic temples and shrines across the country in the last 6 months or so alone. I was a little scared, thinking maybe this really is a coincidence. Maybe this is really a coincidence. So let's first look at some specific examples of what kind of fires have been occurring recently. Now, I'm going to say just off the bat, right, I would imagine that if these fires were all that common, they wouldn't be noticed, right? Because you don't really notice things when they are, again, common. You notice them when they're definitely out of the place, right? Now, this is just anecdotal, right? It's not the hard numbers that you would need in, like, a scientific setting, right? But I'm just saying, like, off rip, I do not, like, I highly doubt that these fires are normal, right? These to me sound like arson, but see. Major shrine and temple fires that have occurred in the past 6 months. Most 6 months as of November 2025 to May 2026. We have compiled a list of major fires that occurred in and were widely covered in the news. So here's the part, right? Obviously widely covered in the news, but you know, these aren't common, so they do make the news. We're talking about like November 2025. Oita City, Shine Suhiko Shrine. Situation at time of the occurrence was nighttime unmanned. Cause of fire, cause unknown. Fire spread from, Otside? Oh, outside. Fuck, never mind. I'm retarded now, right? From outside the site. Fuck! Okay, that's embarrassing. Let's see. I'm going to leave that in because, you know, the flubs are part of the honesty, I guess, right? Side of damage. A large fire breaks out, engulfing the surrounding area, including the shrine grounds. Let's try the second one. This was in December. Izumo City in Shimane Prefecture. The Saikoji Temple. Head priest lives there. Under investigation, fire breaks out in living space. Fire broke out in the building, causing serious damage to the main hall and residential buildings. No contact with one chief priest. Let's see. January 2026. This is Kita Kyushu City in Fukuoka Prefecture. Suga Shrine. Nighttime unmanned. Under investigation. Again. Fire started in unmanned warehouse. Fire broke out in a warehouse, completely burning down 2 buildings, including the adjacent shrine office. You have February 2026. Shimonoseki City, Yamaguchi Prefecture, Shorinji Temple. Let's see. Oh, is this Shorin? Is it like small forest? Head priest lives there. Under investigation, fire broke out in the building in the early hours of the morning. Fire broke out in the early hours of the morning, completely burning down two-story wooden temples. One body found in the ruins. So someone died in this one, right? So if it is arson, it's not just arson. This one is actually murder. Let's see. April 2026. Toyama City, Toyama Prefecture in Renshoji Temple. Head priest lives there. House fire. Strong winds spread the fire to the main hall. Fire broke out in a residential area, and the adjacent main hall and other buildings were completely burned down due to strong winds. April 2026. Nabari City, Mie Prefecture. This is Uryu Fushine Shrine. Nighttime unmanned, no sign of fire, investigated on suspicion of suspicious fire. Fire broke out in the precious 150-year-old main hall, completely burning it down. So this building has been up for 150 years, right? Kiyonalo says, sounds like this started when the Prime Minister said she'll toss out all illegals. You know what? I didn't think about that, but you know, you might be onto something, Kiyonalo. I had a different idea about how this might be going on, and it did happen to deal with a particular group. But hello, Road. But you might actually have a point there. It might be retaliation. May 2026. Let's see. Niigata City, Niigata Prefecture for Furumachi Atago Shrine. Nighttime unmanned, under investigation. Sudden fire broke out late at night. Report was received that the shrine was on fire. The main hall of the shrine was completely burned down. So the main hall seems to be definitely an object of attack. Captain Rudy says, oh, look, it's the guy who likes watching lewd tubers. What the hell are you talking about, my guy? Oh, wait. Are you talking about the Ember Paradox thing? Yeah, that was funny. May 2026, right? Let's see. Takaoka City, Toyama Prefecture, Daihoji Temple. So I guess this is like the great. If I had to guess, this would be like Great Law Shrine, right? Head priest lives there. Under investigation, fire broke out in the main hall in the evening. The main hall of the famous Muromachi period temple in the city center burns down. So again, another historical center, right? May 2026, Daishoin, not Daishoin, Daishoin Temple, Miyaji Macho, let's see, Hatsukaichi City, Hiroshima Prefecture. Head priest lives there. Under investigation, fire breaks out in the early morning. Forest of Mount Misen on Itsukushima. World Heritage Site. So this isn't just like a local thing. It's also a World Heritage Site, apparently. Is located near the summit, undefeated Reikodo. Let's see, burned down. So when we put them together as concrete numbers and data, even if it's just in 2026, like every month, we can see that there have been a series of large fires of this class at temples and shrines across the country, with the main hall completely burned down. Okay. It is rumored on social media, etc., that there have been a lot of fires at shrines and temples recently. The disturbing feeling of was sadly not just my imagination, but the fires were really occurring frequently all over the country. Again, sorry for the broken English in here. It is the Google Translate is kind of being an issue here. Let's see. Eric Snell says, I would have expected older buildings in 150 years. Maybe I'm just used to everything outside of America being ancient. I mean, fair. Captain Rudy says, okay, probably not at that. Oh, yeah, you were laughing at Kura? Yeah, fair enough. What are we looking at? We're talking about the fires that have been going on in Japan, right? And how it's almost certainly arson. Kionalo says, the really old ones are super protected. You would think so, but possibly not, right? Again, Japan is a very high trust society. Yes, Captain Rudy, we are looking at arson, a potential arson of religious sites. Now, if you know anything about the history of a particular religion and other people's religious sites, This may not be all that surprising, right? So, why is it increasing? The main cause of fires, shrines, and temples. Why is it that there are so many fires in shrines and temples, and even more so that once they start, they can easily become a catastrophe that burns the entire build? Well, one, making your temples out of wood doesn't exactly help the fire issue. But, you know, it's tradition. You're not going to fault them for making their shrines and temples out of wood when that's how they've been doing it for literally hundreds of years. And, you know, let's be fair, something only recently changed, and that's why so many of these are burning down. General statistics of the Fire and Disaster Management Agency and other sources, as well as the specific causes of fire that have emerged from recent news, can be easily understood. 3 reasons, and I will explain it separately. 1. Structure of wooden buildings and deterioration over time. Many traditional shrines and temples are made from a combination of wood, a combination of dried wood. Furthermore, shrines and temples that have been in history for decades or even hundreds of years have completely lost their moisture, dried to the touch. Therefore, it has the weakness that once it catches fire, it can spread throughout the entire area in an instant. I mean, yeah, we use wood to kindle fire for a reason, right? Let's see. Religious practices of handling fire. At temples and shrines, daily worship, and events, there are many opportunities to work with fire. This can also be cited as a cause. Mismanagement of incense sticks and candles offered by worshippers, problems with undergrowth, burning, open burning to treat corpses, and dead leaves on the premises. Okay. Let's see. That's what it says. That's what it says in the site. You can see it right there. In fact, in January 2026, a nasty fire broke out in a wooded area with the grounds of shrine in Nagano Prefecture, with the fire from burning trees spreading to the surrounding grass. I mean, yeah, this is a thing that can happen. We're not saying it can't happen, but we're just saying that the numbers don't look like this is what's going on, right? Let's see. 3. Integration with residential space. In many temples, the main hall where the sutras are given is connected to the houses, kuri, where the head priest's family lives their daily lives by corridors. As a result, just like in a typical home, there are many cases where a fire in one's daily life, such as a fire starting in the kitchen or mismanagement of heating appliances, can spread all at once to the important main hall next door. Yes, that's true, but again, does this match with patterns beforehand? And if it doesn't match with patterns beforehand, then what is causing the spike, right? That's the thing that we haven't gotten to yet, and I think we all know what the spike is being caused by, but, you know, let's see if they figure it out here, because I think I know what it is, but, you know. Let's see, hold on, let me catch it back up with chat. Captain Rudy said, I wonder if this is... okay, actually, hold on. I think it was Kianala. So are mainland Asian temples and shrines, but you don't see arson like this there? Fair. Let's see. Road watched 5 consecutive streams. Oh, thank you, Road. Thank you for your patronage, right? Let's see. Kura says, you know, Japan loves making stories of Kuketskis, and they often involve a man named Vlad Tepes. Maybe they should, I don't know, adopt this tactic for the people who burn their temples. Fair, right? Yeah, I mean, it should be an extremely severe punishment if you burn down a Japanese temple, right? Just saying, right? If you get caught in Japan for burning down a Japanese temple, that should be met with a very severe punishment. Fuck! Oh, that's annoying. Anyway, so yeah, I just hit my desk. That hurt like a bitch. Let's see. What is the nature of the fire at the shrine or temple? In short, in such a short period of time, there have been multiple fires at shrines and temples across the country. Quote, I wonder if these were accidents, of chance. Maybe someone is setting the fire on purpose. This might make you feel suspicious. In fact, there are growing doubts online and on social media about the incidental nature behind these successive fires. Fires at shrines and temples, suspected arson or suspicious fire. I looked into the current situation to see if there is one. Okay. See, too many late night fires, rumors of arson. And yes, I think the rumors of arson are probably going to be proven accurate. Captain Rudy says, I wonder if this is related to the Prime Minister's recent comments about assimilation. Not everyone appreciated her saying assimilate or get out. Well, she should have said assimilate or get out, right? And I hate to say this, but Islam can't assimilate in Japan, right? Islam is a religious supremacist movement, right? If you're not part of Islam as a country, if you're not an Islamic country, you're part of the Dar al-Harb, literally the house of war, right? So, and the entire, like, thing with, like, again, just look up their beliefs about the kafir, so the unbeliever, and, again, their beliefs on how Jews and Christians are among the worst of creatures. So, you know, Jews and Christians are worse than dogs, and what to do with the dhimmi, right? To get the dhimmi, you know, to pay the humiliation tax, the jizya, right? So Islam is not a religion compatible with Japan because they believe that their way of life is already perfect. So then why would they have to assimilate into a less perfect way of living? Let's see. In response to recent news of fires and shrines, social media such as X, formerly Twitter, it's strange that it could suddenly spread at a time where there is no fire or in an uninhabited place. It was probably deliberate arson. There are posts flying around every day speculating that. Furthermore, I suspect that what a weird way to break this. Oh, speculating that. I've been reading all day. My eyes are a little tired. I'm not going to lie. Furthermore, I suspect that forces with certain ideologies and backgrounds are deliberately burning shrines and temples in order to target Japan's historical assets. I would agree. Just ask what happened to all of those Buddhist monuments in Afghanistan, right? Or, you know, another thing you could ask, what did ISIS do when they got their hands on Mesopotamian artifacts? It's a pretty consistent pattern, right? Let's see. This is rather, and also ask yourself what's going on with churches in Europe, right? Just pointing that out there. This is a rather disturbing rumor and even conspiracy-like speculation. I mean, if it's true, is it a conspiracy? Of course, these are not publicly proven facts, but the recent fires have made people want to believe such extreme rumors. Creepy commonalities. It's also true that there are many. Let's see. Commonalities regarding recent shrine and temple fires. Fire aimed at unmanned hours. This has to be a translation quirk, because that sentence doesn't make any sense in English. Captain Rudy says, Cosmic, do you not ever read? That is a bit of a pastime of mine, right? You know, comics are a thing that I quite enjoy. Let's see. Oh man, the chat is moving, right? Hold on. I'm gonna read through this and then get to the chat, respond to the chat. Or at least the parts that I missed. Percentage of suspicious fires. Arson, including suspected arson, is always ranked in the top 3 causes of all fires, right? Reference source, Fire and Disaster Management Agency, Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communications, 2023 Fire and Disaster Management White Paper, causes of fire. Late night shrines and temples that are out of everyone's sight are likely to be targeted. Again, which is why people have been suggesting put cameras up next to these historic and important shrines. Let's see. Unmanned and crime prevention measures seen in numbers. Why are shrines and temples so easy to target, and why can't they prevent fires that are suspected to be incidents? The background to this is modern Japanese shrines and temples, a lack of labor and lack of money. The problem is hidden. We have compiled a list of to the current state of shrines and temples across the country with specific figures. Lack of money. Okay, we already read that part. Number of shrines nationwide, approximately 80,000 shrines, of which there are several shrines where Shinto priests are permanently stationed, thousands of companies only. See, number of temples nationwide, approximately 77,000 temples. The number of vacant temples that have no successor and may disappear in the future is rapidly increasing. Now again, remember what I said. A shrine in these contexts refers to a Shinto primary building, right? A temple is a Buddhist privileging building, right? So they are technically different, but let's be totally like above board here. Many temples in like Japan also have a shrine, and many shrines also have a temple, right? So they're not entirely distinct. Some temples are just to Buddhism, and some shrines are just Shinto, but a lot of them are, it's really one major building and then like one major complex, and then they have like a subsection of the complex that's devoted to the other religion, right? Let's see. As a result, the majority of shrines and temples in Japan are uninhabited, meaning that no one is usually there. This creates a very dangerous security gap, as there is no budget to install security cameras, no manpower to maintain them, and no one can notice if a suspicious person enters the temple grounds. We go damage caused by fires in shrines and temples. With so many fires at shrines and temples across the country, it can be heartbreaking to think in our time Japan's precious history and culture will be lost forever. Let's take the... I'm actually thinking about a couple temples that would be actually genuinely terrible to be lost, because they actually have like irreplaceable documents in some of those like items. But anyway, yes, fair enough. Let's take a look at the actual situation along with concrete data to see how serious the damage is, not just from the total fires that make the TV news, but also from the small fires that don't actually make the news. And this is a good thing to point out, right? Because it's also small fires that almost certainly are being not lumped in with this, right? Let's see. Actual number of fires occurring per year. So let's see if this can give us a baseline to compare, right? The fires we see on TV and the newspaper at shrines and temples have resulted in the main hall being completely burned down and human casualties. News of particular large fires, it's just Google Translate is being a bit of a bastard sometimes. However, when examining official statistical data across Japan released by the Fire and Disaster Management Agency of the Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communication, the following figures are relevant, including incidents of noise and small suspicious fires that are not widely reported in the media. So we have the annual number of fires in shrines and temples, approximately every year nationwide, 60 items to 80 items, right? Let's see. Calculation that once every few days a fire breaks out at a shrine or temple somewhere in Japan. Trend in the time of day of ignition. Most of the fires occur not only during the daytime but also during the uninhabited hours from night to early morning. Okay. Let's see. Behind the anxiety we feel on social media about there have been a lot of fires at shrines and temples recently, there is a real background to this fact that small fires and dangerous moments that do not make the news are piling up all over the country every month. Let's see. 3 damage situations caused by fire. When a shrine or temple catches fire, it causes irreparable loss to the region and history. The serious damage caused can be broadly classified into 3 categories. 1, permanent loss of centuries-old cultural asset. That is, yes, absolutely true. Once a principal image, Buddha statue, a historical document, or a priceless building over 100 years old is stored in a shrine or temple, it can burn to ashes and never be fully restored to its original form. Saddest part is when local symbols and treasures are wiped out forever after just one night of fire. 2, spreading fire damage to surrounding areas and abundant nature. A building fire can cause a forest fire or, fire to other buildings. Shrines and temples are very often built in areas surrounded by abundant nature and copses, or densely packed with old-fashioned wooden houses. As a result, there is constant risk that the intense flames and spark from the shrines and temples will spread to the surrounding forests and private homes, escalating to a massive fire that will engulf the entire region. And 3, covering reconstruction costs, tens of millions of yen to hundreds of millions of yen. It would cost a tremendous amount of money to rebuild the burnt-out main hall or main hall. Okay, it is definitely conflating 2 separate words here. But anyway. Let's see. Economic burden of rebuilding shrines and temples. General main hall reconstruction costs. Even on the small scale of tens of millions of yen, it is a large temple over hundreds of millions of yen, most cases cost. If it's a large, okay. Current status of local shrines and temples. With the decline in visitors and parishioners due to the decline in birth rates, aging population, and depopulation, it is nearly impossible for local residents alone to raise the huge costs of reconstruction. Even shrines and temples that were spared from the burning down are having suffered secondary sad damage in many places, as they simply fell into disuse and disappeared due to lack of money. So, summary. This time we have taken a closer look at the actual data, causes, and current state of crime prevention regarding the number of shrine and temple fires that seem to be on the rise recently. Finally, let's review key points we researched again with a list. So item, we're gonna go item, and then we're gonna talk about like points about the shrine and temple fires. Facts of the recent fires. Since the start of 2026, major fires of a total nature have occurred across the country almost every month. Main cause of ignition, spreading due to dry trees, mismanagement fires, spread of fire from residential spaces. Let's see, rumors of incident and arson. Many suspicious fires occur at night and are rumored on social media. There's a gap in the background for crime prevention by unmanned. Let's see, actual annual numbers of fires, including small boyas that are not reported in the media. Approximately 60 to 80% of 60 to 80 cases, not percent, cases each year also occur. Great loss caused by fire. Okay, this is just about the monetary and cultural cost. When we learned about the current state of modern shrines and temples, where the lack of manpower and budget has created nighttime gaps, there is something eerie about the possibility of incidents and arson that are rumored in social media. Whether it's just a random accident or deliberate suspicious fire, the most frightening and sad aspect of this issue is that important history is wiped out forever without the truth being revealed. There may not be much we can do, but becoming part of a watchful eye of each individual, whether it's to be on the lookout for suspicious people or to keep an eye out on fires at night, could be a real measure to stop this disturbing cycle. Okay, so that is the article from a Japanese website on this, right? It's non-committal, let's be perfectly honest, about like what is going on here. But anyone who's been keeping up with what's going on in Europe can't exactly be faulted for noticing a pattern, right? Certain group goes into starts setting up shop in Europe, and then churches start burning down, right? Same group goes in Japan, starts setting up shop, and then temples start burning down. It's one of those like, I can't prove it, but something suspicious be afoot, right? Let's see. Let me check the chat now. Let's see. Where is okay? Kionala says even in Islamic countries don't like. Yeah, I mean they really don't, right? Ibadis, Sunnis, Shias, and Ahmadis don't exactly get along with each other. If you aren't part of Islam, you are an infidel. Yes, the word is kafir, Fushizi, right? Don't say that in South Africa though. That'll get you stabbed in South Africa. Captain Rudy says, Cosmic, do you ever not read? It's not the things you might expect, right? Close Up Coffee says, churches burning down all over Canada too? Yep. Kionala says, even animals can see patterns? Yep. Captain Rudy says, what is Shintoism? What's their belief? So Shintoka is a practitioner of Shinto, my bad. But Shinto is just the native religion of Japan. It's an animistic religion, right? So they believe that everything has its own spirit, its own kami. They don't have a distinct word for a ghost, spirit, or a god, so the kami covers all of those bases. It's kind of like in the Chinese religion, where it's like that same concept is covered by the idea of the Shen. But long story short, it's an animistic and polytheistic religion. And that's about it, right? Depending on where you go in Japan, the beliefs will differ, and the sacred books of Japan of Shinto, the Shinten, are kind of just all over the place, to be perfectly honest. Let's see. Kionala says temple equals big, shrine equals small. Not in this context. Not in this context. In this context, in Japanese context, shrine and temple usually are delineated by religious purpose, right? Kura says, I don't really remember the full belief structure, but I think it's a reincarnation based. At the end of times, all become one. They do have a concept of hell. Okay, so that's Buddhism. Buddhism is the one that introduces reincarnation. There is actually a concept of like a underworld in Shinto itself, right? Yomi. Where the Shinto is in many respects inextricable from Buddhism because of how much Buddhism has affected Japan. But like in Ko-Shinto, which is the attempt at Shinto without any kind of Buddhist influence, it's kind of like a Japanese return to the original, right, without foreign influence movement, which happens periodically in Japan. They don't really have the same ideas that Buddhism does, and in that particular case, Yomi is definitely more prominent, right? Let's see. Kura says, I do know they are polytheistic, elemental commies, three-world dimensional, let's see, kind of, again, that's adding some of the Buddhism into there. Play Astronomico says, the noticing will continue, as it must, right? So, you know what, actually, now that y'all are saying it, I might actually have to do a video on Shinto and some of the other religions across the world. That would actually be kind of interesting. Because I actually know of some videos where people are actually lecturing on that, and I have a decent amount of commentary to give to that. So y'all just gave me an idea. Bogu92 says they can't stop people noticing. Oh, definitely not. We shouldn't stop. Close Up Coffee says, Close Up Coffee Cup says, isn't Shinto almost more cultural at this point than a real strong belief? It depends on who you're talking to. Shinto is definitely deeply rooted in the culture, so yes, but there are still true believers of Shinto in Japan, even though most people in Japan have more of a cultural Shinto, it's kind of like cultural Christians and like cultural Muslims, where it's like, oh yeah, they don't really believe in the religion, but they still follow many of the edicts and practices because it's a socially stabilizing, force. Let's see. Let's go here. Now we will talk. We'll let Foxu do her spiel first. This is going to be a decently long commentary, apparently. And then we're going to go to Cyberpunk Dingo because I have a sneaking suspicion he's going to have a little bit more in on this than Foxu will. I love Foxu, but she doesn't know shit about religion, to be perfectly honest.
Got a Ken Kenobi video here. Let's see him talking about the Shira.
Oh shit, it's a reactception. Okay, we're doing a reactception then. I didn't even, okay, you can tell I didn't actually watch this first. Kura says, please do, I would watch the shit out of that. Yeah, actually, you know what? I could also probably, if I can get I could get my voice, because I have an AI clone of my voice, I could also possibly get some of the public domain translations of some of these texts and like put them as audio books read on my channel as well, right? Because it's not like I don't have the entire internet sacred text archive on CD. So I was like, I have access to this material. Let's see. Kevin Eric Snell says, yeah, cultural Shinto is a good way to put it. They go through the rituals like we do Christmas. Yep. So Kevin Eric Snell says, but there's probably a few prayers to ancestors during exam, right? Yeah, fair enough, right? I'm sorry, I just remembered a Simpsons joke. Okay, so let's begin this.
Rhine fires.
Hello, it's Ken Kenobi and emergency news. Japanese shrines and temples and historical places are burning down right now. A lot of people expect that this is done by certain immigrants. Let me have a look. This is 500.
Chad, I know what you're gonna say, but like, he kind of cute.
All I can do right now is put on a brave face and go out there and be their leader.
I'm sorry, Mr. Kenobi. You got hit with the gay beam.
It's over. 73 years old. Daihoji Temple in Japan. National treasure with priceless artwork got completely destroyed in massive fire. Centuries of culture vanishing overnight.
Yeah, again, that's why if this is arson, that's why they did this, right? Long before any of this happened, you did have an issue with occasionally some crazy foreigner just like setting fire to a Shinto temple or like a Shinto shrine or a Buddhist temple. It has happened before, right? Like the War Memorial Shrine was is a good example of that, right? Where someone long before any of this happened tried to set. I just realized I need to move my avatar. Tried to set fire to that. Okay, I have it locked. I'm retarded. But tried to set fire to that years ago, and okay, there we go. There we go. Okay, now we're in a spot where we can talk without obscuring the Foxu. But yeah, so, and this is one of the reasons why sometimes like Japan has this history of cycling between like, oh yeah, let the foreigner in and get the foreigner out, right?
水巻いてるわ。うわ暑い、なんか近づくと。大丈夫か。
Again, you may not necessarily believe in the religion, but this is still a tragedy, right? Like, you wouldn't want someone coming to your country and then burning down your holy sites. We shouldn't necessarily, you know, we should be able to empathize with people when it happens to them, even if we don't believe in the same religion. And I say this because, again, as someone who's frequented Green Reddit, I have seen people, not on this instance, but for other religions, you know, not have the common sense or decency of, you know, you don't have to believe what they believe, but you still do have to at least, you know, treat human, you know, people as you would prefer to be treated, right? Hold on. Oh, hold on. Chicken Tender 19 gifted a tier sub to Kura and to Captain Rudy. Thank you, Chicken Tender. Like, very much appreciated. I think this might actually be my my first example of a gift. I think you may have given the first gifted sub to this channel. To be perfectly honest. So again, very much thank you. Let's see. Kura says Oguchi no Megami is a very interesting kami as well. It became a kami, I think it was renamed or revisioned to Inukami no Megami, I think. It's not ringing a bell off the top of my head. My main interest is actually in like the Kokugaku school, specifically the Mitogaku school, and how they tried to and some of the work that they wrote on Amenami no Kanushi no Mikoto, right? That one is definitely the one that is of primary interest to me because it shows a historical syncretism that's common that a lot of people don't really think about. Let's see. Captain Rudy says, get a voice changer and call yourself a cosmic paradox. Well, you know what? You know what, fucking Rudy? I actually used to use a voice changer. Maybe I'll put something on towards the end of the stream so you can see what my voice used to be like, and you can see why I stopped using it, right? It says, I saw a video where Chinese tourists were shaking a cherry tree. Yeah, that's obnoxious, but the Chinese do that. Let's see. SpartanBot says, yeah, I have just given up trying to explain the differences between forgiveness and a context for Christianity to Foxwoman. I just end up muting those segments. Chicken Tender, I just noticed that you subscribed as well. Thank you. Sorry, I'm still trying to catch up with the chat, right? But, yeah. Here's the thing. My rule is that everyone is allowed their retardation, right? There are certain topics where you can be completely wrong, and while I may find it annoying, I will still allow you the grace to be wrong, depending on the circumstances, right? Because Foxu isn't exactly unreasonable for believing wrong things about how the Christian faith believes in, like, forgiveness and what that entails, right? Like the fact that, like, forgiveness doesn't necessarily mean you don't still face the temporal punishment for what you did, right? But, you know, when the majority of the American culture is evangelical tainted, right? And that evangelicalism is often very much idealistic and not really realistic or pragmatic, that can definitely taint and, like, change someone's, like, they can change the series of weights in the evaluation system for someone, right? So she's wrong, but I can understand how she came to the wrong conclusion, even though I know it is the wrong conclusion, right? And I think you and me can probably, like, I'm pretty sure you understand where I'm coming from, right? Let's see. Captain Rudy says, just put a Nurikabe in front of any Quango who wants to burn these places down, right?
I feel like it would be a wild coincidence if it just so happened the first year Japan took in, like, record number of random migrants, and then their priceless shrines start burning down.
Yeah, well, the thing is like, Japan... No, not Japan, but like Islam. Again, the Quran is very clear that the Christian, the Jew, and the polytheist are the worst of creatures. Right? Again, if you are a Christian or a Jew or a polytheist and you are hearing this right now, the Quran is very clear. You are lower than dogs. You are lower than pigs, right? You are, again, the lowest of creatures. Allah has like 11 different passages where he is very clear that he means what he says and he says what he means, right? It's kind of like he's like the Popeye of deities, right? He doesn't exactly mince his words. Yeah. So, and again, they see these, they see the gods of Shinto as not necessarily historical, like, ghosts or, historical, like myths. They see them as, again, demons, jinn. So, there's a deep animosity that occurs between Shinto and Islam by its very nature. Kura says, F that, feed him to Dai Gaikotsu. Right? They can dog on these nuts. God damn it, Captain Rudy. But yeah, if this is arson and it's coming from a very specific identifiable population, this is definitely gonna change Japan's view of whatever population it's doing this now. I do like that, again, people in the West are actually explaining to people in Japan through, again, Zitter, what Islam is actually about, even if they don't necessarily provide textual citations, which, to be fair, there's only so much space you have on Twitter, right? But I would really love if someone would be able to translate some of the stuff that's been made, for example, in Act 17 apologetics, or, Cyberpunk Dingo, or, by Apostate Prophet, or by any of these other cohorts who have been, again, trying to keep people away from Islam, because it's kind of needed, right? Japan just does not know much about Islam. And the only reason we know about Islam is because we've been having to deal with this shit. But, let's see. Captain Rudy says, no, that's too... God damn it.
I knew this is gonna happen. I've been worrying this since last year. Because I've seen so many churches burning down in Europe, and I knew it's gonna happen. Like, this is not the first one, by the way. Many a pork farm and chicken farm has been burned down, and also
Japan denies Muslims the ability to bury their dead in Japanese soil, and now shrines are being destroyed. What an odd coincidence. Really gets you noggin jogging, don't it?
It really activates the almonds, right? But yeah, it's because, again, it's like the Japanese, to a certain extent, they view their own homeland as like a sacred place, right? And to be fair, this is a lot more common than people think, right? It's like in Vietnam, in the religion of Chow Dai, right? Vietnam is considered a sacred nation. In Judaism, Israel is considered a sacred nation, and, the land of Israel is a sacred land. Most of the Native American tribes that you can think of believe that the land that their people came from is a sacred land, right? Just, let's not beat around the bush here, right? Like, to a certain extent, everyone believes that their own homeland is kind of a sacred territory to themselves, right? So, let's not pretend like the Japanese aren't just acting like aren't being reasonable to be like, hey, you're not Japanese, you should be buried in your own homeland, right? In your own home country. If you're not a Japanese citizen, then why would you be buried in Japan, right? That's not exactly hard to understand. But, apparently this is just like absolutely beyond the pale. And when it's just absolute common sense, right? It's like if you die in a foreign country, usually if you have the opportunity, you get shipped back, your corpse gets shipped back to, where your family's at. Let's see.
temples and also Shinto shrines. Look at this.
これはまずいでしょ。いやー。
Yeah, I mean, can they rebuild this? Yes, they can rebuild it. But again, as we said, it's going to take a lot of cost and manpower and yen, which, again, the yen, just like I said with the dollar, with like when you're paid, it's a representation of your time, it's a representation of your productivity. you know, depending on how you're paid. So all of that is about to get put back into here when it could have been used more effectively somewhere else if this place was not burned down in the first place, right? Oh my god, this is just actually kind of reminding me of the broken window fallacy, because I've had to argue this with people multiple times where it's like, no, destruction does not lead to more, like, you know, economy. It leads to resources being drained away from where they could have been used more effectively somewhere else. But, you know.
こんな燃え方しないですよ。火を放たなければ。
Right?
Captain Rudy says, and this goes back to what I said about this being a response to the Prime Minister's comments. Oh, I have a sneaking suspicion you're correct about this.
Like a little like the places that go burned
Now,
down.
the guy in Japanese, he was saying that it doesn't burn like that if you don't light it on fire, and he's saying it's not a natural fire. He's basically saying this was arson at this temple.
Sometimes there's no electricity. There is no electricity. Nobody's using fire. There's no cause of fire, and then get burned down.
自然火
Oh shit, me and her are doing the same thing. We're both drinking a soda.
災じゃないですよ、これは。見てくださいよ、これ。とんでもない。
Shit, like this is our holy place, you know.
And again, I have to point this out, right? It may not be a soldier, but this is effectively an act of war, right? Why? Because again, Japan is a, like, non-Islamic nation. There are only two houses in Islam, right? There are Dar al-Islam and Dar al-Harb, which is, again, the house of Islam, or the religion, and the house of war, right? The again, the Ummah does not consider Japan a friend. It considers them a latent enemy, right? That needs to be conquered and subjugated. So, yes, this is an act of terrorism if this is arson, right? Because then, like, what's the purpose of burning down a shrine if not, again, to terrorize the people there, right? If this is, in fact, arson, and it is, in fact, a response to what the Prime Minister said, this is definitionally terrorism, right? And it is an act of war, whether or not, you know, you want to accept it as that or not, right?
Maybe you don't. Maybe you think that, oh, this is like a fake god. Are we gonna burn in hell? Maybe you think that. Is it so funny to burn our shrines? Or is it because Japan are becoming more conservative and being strict about immigrants coming in? For that revenge, you guys are setting fire.
どんな神社でもね、一緒なんですよ。靖国だろうが、伊勢神宮だろうが。神社が燃やされるっていうことの意味をね、私たちは。
Are they playing the hymn of the faith in the background? Is this Final Fantasy X cloister music?
I would not have been able to catch that because I've never played Final Fantasy.
I feel every time I hear like the refrain part of it, I'm just like, I feel like I'm about to do a puzzle with my Titus. I can't tell.
すいません、言葉が出てこないですけど。
No word for this.
Praise be to Yevon. I swear this is fucking Final Fantasy X music, dude.
Protecting our country and praying in this place for a few hundreds of years.
この意味をね。
Again, even if you wanted to convert the people, right, to a different religion, let's say, for example, because again, there's all kinds of people obviously want to convert Japan into a Christian nation of some kind, right? There's no need to destroy the temples, right? These are historical sites, and then if you really needed to repurpose them, they could just be made into churches, right? There was no need to destroy these sites. It's just completely, like, again, irrational to do this. Let's see. Captain Randy says, I don't think it'd be classified as terrorism. Terrorism is indiscriminate violence that's either political or religious in nature. I would hesitate to put the indiscriminate part in there because we're talking about, like, terrorism should be defined by its function, what its actual telos is, right? The indiscriminate part isn't necessary to achieve the exact same goals, right? Let's see. Kura says, I don't care what kami it represents. This shit pisses me off on the same level as someone burning down a church. Yeah. As Kianalo says, there are crazy leftists in Japan, so could be them too. Yeah, but the difference between crazy leftists in Japan and crazy leftists in the United States is there's a different disposition caused by the fact that, like, we have two different cultures. So the flavor of our leftism and theirs, you know, it may be the same ideologically, but the way they operate in actual practice is different.
I'm pretty sure they're doing this because we are conservative, because we're getting more strict about like the foreigners.
I would actually say it's not even to do with any like being more conservative, right? Japan is probably like the most conservative nation that I can think of that exists that doesn't just execute people for doing progressive things, right? Like, I don't think I could think of another more conservative nation that is not just a de facto dictatorship, right? Which then goes out of the realm of normal conservatism and goes into authoritarianism. But I digress. It's just like, I don't think that has anything to do with it. It's just a way to antagonize and humiliate. A sort of, we are here and we can burn down the things that you care about because they are not only meaningless to us, they are an affront to us. And you must adapt to us in your country. Your country will become ours, is basically what this is all about.
Yeah, it's basically the same reason why you had those Somali immigrants, you know, take the fucking, you have the fraud in Minnesota, right? And I was like, oh, why are you taking the taxpayer money? Well, the reason they're taking the taxpayer money is they can't exactly extract jizya through coercive force on their own, so they instead leverage your own government's tools to extract money from you to pay for their lifestyle. So they get the jizya either way as a humiliation tax. And in this case, it's like, yeah, Islam has been historically very abusive to Christians and Jews living under their rule, to be perfectly honest. There's a lot of claims of like periods of being treated well. It's like, well, relative to what, right? Yeah, no, again, it's a form of like, again, social domination.
Japan still has hanging, they just don't use it often. I actually think that their way of doing capital punishment is pretty interesting. When they give like the death penalty, they have a bunch of men, I can't remember if it's like 4 or 5, but they have a bunch of men in front of switches and like all of them flip the switch at the same time so that nobody knows which one of them is the one who actually pulled the real switch that administered the electricity to the death row patient. I was like, that's pretty interesting.
It's not electricity. They execute by hanging. Unless they changed it, but I'm pretty sure the execution is by hanging, to be perfectly honest, right? And they only really give you 2 options of like religious imagery when you get walked up there to to the place you're about to be hanged, which is they give you either a cross or you could either have like a Buddhist or a Christian emblem, to focus your thoughts on, but. Yeah, no, but that's not the thing that actually makes it the most interesting about like the execution systems. The thing that makes the Japanese execution system the most interesting is that your date of execution is actually hidden from everyone but the people responsible for organizing it, right? So your lawyer doesn't know when your execution date is coming up. You don't know when your execution date is coming up. It is completely randomized, right? So it's like it's up to the gods, basically, right? And as a result, you don't really know how much time you actually have. And that's part of the temporal punishment in the Japanese, penal, capital punishment system. And yeah, there's a lot of psychological warfare that is basically baked into that, right? Because any day you go to sleep, you could potentially wake up, and then that could be the day. So you could be in prison for a short period of time or a very long period of time. Yeah. That's what I was thinking. It was like that. I don't know why you mentioned electricity. It's like I'm pretty sure it's hanging, right?
So it like doesn't destroy someone's psyche. Give us what we demand or we'll destroy you. Sure doesn't sound like the religion of peace. But they'll destroy you peacefully through the legal system with which you can do nothing about it.
And specific religion, and they're doing this as a revenge. But like one thing I want to say is like it's not gonna help. We're not gonna stop. You do this and it makes us stronger and more conservative. These kind of things gives us more.
To be fair, a lot of these people are also not used to that, right? They're used to you burn things down and they get their way. Because that's exactly what happens in Europe for the most part, right? Again, it's like you got the churches burning down, and then instead of, Europe being, all right, let's ship all these guys back to wherever they came from. Oh, you sought asylum? Well, you shouldn't have burned down that building if you were the one who burned down that building, right? Right? They're like, oh, you harbored someone who did this thing? Okay, well, you're going back. I don't really care what was your asylum claim. You get to go back. Let's see. Captain Rudy says, I stand corrected. You were right. From Google, terrorism is calculated use of violence, a threat of violence to instill fear and coercive governments or societies. Yep. Let's see. Scott Gardner 2047 says, a Kirscher React video. Cool. I really like the Foxu. Munya. Right? I mean, the Foxu is good. But this is definitely a topic that she kind of lacks on. So that's why we're doing the react to this.
Confidence in your decision that we have to get your ass out of our country.
Good, and I hope the majority of the Japanese people have that same mentality. I hope that is the case, because I would not want to see Japan fall to the same issues that have happened in our countries in the West.
They don't really need the whole country in order to do this. They just need, again, a dedicated enough movement, even if it's a minority movement, to get this done. Right? To be perfectly honest. You don't need everyone on board. You just need the people who can actually get things done to get things done, right?
And it's like, we already have, filthy fucking Westerners trying to fuck with Japanese media and sanitizing it and making it into, millennial slop writing. And there's other retarded Westerners that defend that because they don't give a shit about anything from Japan.
Yep.
They don't give a shit about any of the cultural relevance in anything they're consuming. They just want it made for them. I want Japanese cultural things to stay Japanese. I consume them because I like the cultural affect of the Japanese. If they were more Western, I would have less interest. That's not what I'm engaging with it for.
I think V actually has a video on exactly this topic about how much of the anime community is astroturfed.
Don't UK my Japan. I just was like, I wish they could bring back translator notes and shit too, because it's I liked learning about that stuff. You don't have to replace a mention of a Japanese politician with an American one. I'll be like, who the fuck is that? And I'll look it up. Well, that's it's not that difficult. Translator notes were always fun. I remember watching.
The fact that we don't get translator notes in captions is fucking absurd.
The original Full Metal Alchemist, and there was one episode with a translator note. So you had the subtitles on the bottom of the screen and the translator note at the top, and the translator note was a fucking paragraph. I had to pause in order to read that bitch. I was like, what the fuck?
It's okay. Enjoy the little time. A lot of conservative people text me, talk to me, oh my god, the shrines got burned and this, that. Bro, I'm not scared. Don't worry, a lot of people in the United States, Europe, I thank you so much for worrying about our country. But I'm gonna tell you that it's okay. It
better be.
Listen, throughout the history, shrines sometimes get burned down by the war, these things. It happens. And
it happens when everyone understands they're in a war, but do enough people in Japan understand that yet?
Sadly,
I mean, yeah, that is actually a good point that Kirsche brought up right there again. Again, Islam does not really believe in peace with the non-believer, right? All the world must bow to Islam, right? And if you're a part of a particular group, then if you're a part of a particular group, right, then they have a particular animosity against you, right? Which is why the Garkot ain't no snitch, right? He stands with his crew. Anyway.
Stupid liberals, bringing in some immigrants from random third world country, and they're setting some fire to our shrines. Yeah, it is a battle, but it's to me, right?
I will say again, I don't think it's specific. Bringing in too many third world country immigrants already is bad enough, right? Because again, they don't really have the same values as you do as a first worlder, right? But let's be fair. Certain countries are going to have, like, of their third world behavior, are going to have different third world behaviors than others, right? Like, again, the problems you get with Indians that are Hindu and Sikh may be different than the problems you get with, again, Kurds that are Muslim, or, again, like, let's say, any of the stands, right? Just different religions, different cultures, different problems that you end up importing if you import too many too fast that are unwilling to assimilate into your culture, right? And this would be the same with any culture, right? Because, again, anyway, so let's see. Scott Gardner says, yeah, she isn't fully informed, but who else in the VTuber area is getting this out there? Yeah, I'm not complaining about that. I'm just saying we do need people who could potentially help about that. Now, I've already done videos on Islam. I could probably make more videos on Islam. I probably should make more videos on Islam. Like, I can't wait till I get my first threat to be Charlie Hebdo'd, right? Let's see. This is about the Shinto shrine that was burned down along with the pork farms. Yes.
Existence of temple and shrines are very important. At the same time, I'm calm. I know more shrines going to get burned down, and there's nothing we can do about it for now. But what I can do is step by step. My country going to be conservative and kick them out of the country, and we're gonna rebuild the shrines.
And
we're gonna have to.
And never forget which politicians and which structures got these shrines burned down in the first place, right? Got to put that out there, right? It's like, oh yeah, we're gonna get these people out there. You got to get the people who did this in the first place out of positions of power, right?
We're gonna have to, at the end of the day, rebuild.
Yes.
We have to rebuild. That's the most important thing. And also, I'll tell you, like, at the end of the day, the most important shrine's not there. It's here. In your heart. Shrines in your heart. You cannot.
For the religious aspect, yes, I agree. But losing historical artifacts that have been built by who knows how many hundreds or thousands of years ago ancestors that you have, losing that shit should, like, just absolutely burn a fire in your people, right? Like, again, I'm no longer, like, super religious, right? Like, I don't practice Catholicism. I consider myself agnostic. I get incredibly upset when I see gorgeous historical churches burning down. Or even not gorgeous ones. In the case of, like, some German towns, when they were making room for more migrants, they were tearing down churches that were, like, 800, 900 years old. That's not crazy old for Germany, but that's still almost 1,000 years, man. Like, that, like, think about that. Think about the history in that church, the people who built it, the people who formed the town around it.
I mean, yeah, that's still, again, a connection to 800 to 900 years in the past. And why? Because they're making room for culturally incompatible people to come and displace the natives.
Like, you're still losing something, and for what? Was I ever super religious? I don't know if I would say I was ever super religious, but I mean, I did go to church. I think probably being forced to go to church is what made me be less religious, because it just seemed like I'm compelled to do this, and the more I learn about it, the more questions I have, and the more questions I ask, the more I'm told to pray and not get any actual answers to the questions, which makes it seem like there are things that they either don't know or are not telling me, in which case I don't want to believe anything they say.
Don't let that burn down. I'm not saying you can burn the actual shrine, but as long as shrines and holy remains in your heart, then we can rebuild the shrines again and make my country strong again.
Yes!
Right?
That's what I like to hear. That's the difference. To you, it's lost. To them, it simply needs to be rebuilt. No. Like, yeah, you can rebuild it, and you can make it as, like, beautiful as it once was, but it was still somebody who purposefully burnt down not only a religious site for people in your country, but a incredibly old historical site for your country. It is still lost. Rebuilding it will not bring back what, like, malicious people burned down.
I think Kircha is kind of missing the point that the chatter is trying to make, which is that Japan is an island that is accustomed to natural disasters, right? So Japan is also a society which has the idea of rebuild kind of just like deeply rooted in their DNA, a cultural DNA, right? Hold on. Let's see. Captain Rudy says, by the way, this is completely off topic, but have you ever heard of Neko Kitsune, like a cat fox? Let's see. Remember when Notre Dame burned down? I know that wasn't intentional, but it was still a sad sight to see. Notre Dame burned down for some rather interesting reasons. But yes, that was still an absolute tragedy that Notre Dame was lost the way it was. So
it will be a different structure. You can do it, and I agree, you should do it. I'm not advocating to not rebuild. You should rebuild. But you should also have that fire in you and that ire in you towards people who would maliciously burn down not just a religious site, but a historical one.
Yeah, I gotta point out, like, Japan is the only country to have ever successfully expelled Christianity out of its territory successfully. And they can do the same with Japan. They don't even have to go nearly as hard as they did with Christianity, because it's already small enough a problem. They can just be like, all right, if you are an immigrant and you've been doing these things, then get the fuck out. You're going back to your homeland. And if we don't know where you're going, and if we don't know what your homeland is, you just go into Rwanda, right? We will ship you to Rwanda, right?
Right, it's like the people in our country who were taking down statues of, like, Confederate soldiers and stuff. You can acknowledge that the Confederacy lost and that they might not have had some great ideas, but you can also acknowledge this was part of our history and these shouldn't be destroyed. These shouldn't be melted down. What the fuck is wrong with you for doing that? Shouldn't need to be.
Well, they do that because they want to obliterate the past and start, to begin again at year zero. That's literally the entire point, right? Is, again, the rebirth of the people. So, like, the whole idea of, like, palingenic totalitarianism is, like, the definition of fascism, which is a really stupid definition for fascism, by the way, because then it obliterates the distinction between fascism and other ideologies, which is, by the way, intentional. But I digress. We can get on that in another subject matter. But, yeah, no, the definition that the people in, like, academia came up with to for fascism, to get all these different movements together, it fits Marxism just as well, right? Marxism's entire project is the rebirth of the human race through, again, struggle, strife, and fire, right? Through conflict, through class conflict specifically, right? Out of class conflict, out of the sublation of the economic classes will come the socialist man at the end of history, they promise, right? Which is, by the way, one of the reasons that you can't be most of these religions and a Marxist, right? Because many of these religions have teachings about, again, the end, how the world ends, right? Especially Christianity. And if you are Christian and a Marxist, you have two conflicting different ideas about how the world is supposed to end, right? It was like, oh yeah, capitalism will be defeated, and we will have we will be restored to primordial communism in the upcoming age, right? All right, okay, let's just give you that, and like, okay, how does the Christian eschatology fit into all this? The what now? Right? You can't be both, chat.
Be rebuilt, deal with the problem, or it will continue.
And as we saw with Japan, you can't be Shintoist and a communist either, right? By Allah, you deserve only but the sword, right? What's that meme, right?
To be a problem? Yes, exactly. Exactly.
No, I have planned to create this video because this is such a negative news, and I don't really want to touch this issue. I don't really want to associate with this issue, but I feel like I had to make this video for the community because a lot of you wanted to know, like, my opinion about this. I'm nothing negative about this issue. I take this as a positive things. Setting fire on shrines is actually setting fire on Japanese people's heart to fight hard against these barbarians. So I know who did it.
Barbarians is the perfect term for this, because, like, this is truly barbaric behavior. But yes, You can make a good thing. You can make good things come out of bad things, but you have to actually frame it a particular way to do that. And yes, framing this is not just a national, tragedy, but also as a rallying cry to expel the barbarians, is probably a good way to phrase this. To frame this. Now, if only we could fucking do this, right? Expel the barbarians from our midst, right?
Let me have a look. Like, who these days they're putting fire on pork farm. Why do you need to come to a non-Islamic country and then start setting a pork farm on fire?
Yes.
I've never heard of this kind of stuff. Like, a bunch of pork farm getting fire at the same time. Suddenly, pork farm. Let me have a look at this guy.
Perempuan inilah antara perkara yang anda tidak
This is
patut
Malay
lakukan
guy.
ketika berada di Jepun.
Oh god. Okay, so he's a Malay. Fun fact, chat. This is actually a racial religion law in Malaysia. In Malaysia, if you are an ethnic Malay, you are legally required to be a Sunni Muslim. Right? It's not an if, and, or but. You are by law required, if you are an ethnic Malay in Malaysia, to be a Sunni Muslim. Scott Gardner says, unless you believe Jesus was the first communist revolutionary leader. I mean, yeah, I guess so, but now we've just entered into a realm of Gnosticism, right? Jesus wasn't actually God, he was actually the first enlightened man, right?
I mean, I translate, okay? Like, you're saying, like, shrines and temples is where the Satan stays to confuse people?
Yep, I saw this coming, right? Because again, not Japan, because Japan is a Shintoist nation, right? Is a Shinto Buddhist nation, and this is so at odds with Islam that the only way Islam really has to conceive of Shinto or Buddhism is that they again worship the shaitan, they worship the jinn, the demons, right? So yeah, and then you got to ask yourself, okay, what do you do when you're what do you do when you have the true religion and you're surrounded by a bunch of demon worshippers, right? Are you going to respect the demon worshippers? Enter the Freeman quote, right?
Really? Look at that. You see the shrines and everything? Shaitan. They were trying to make shrines and a temple is the evil place. Bro, when my ancestor built shrine, we did not even know a word Satan. Like, Japan was like completely isolated
Yes.
from, Abrahamic religion. We don't know that.
Again, hot take, Islam is not an Abrahamic religion. I've made this point on occasion beforehand, but no, Islam is not an Abrahamic religion, right? The Abrahamic religions would include things like Samaritanism, Judaism, Christianity, and all the Christian offshoots, right? Not Gnosticism, because Gnosticism isn't a Christian religion either. But we're talking like, again, Catholic, or Eastern Orthodox, Oriental Orthodox. We're talking like the Assyrian Church of the East. We're talking Protestantism, right, and its flavors. We got Calvinism, Lutheranism, Methodism. What else was there? Anglicanism is another one that popped up from all this, right? You got the Restorationists instead of the Reformationists in the modern day. When the Americas come along, like non-denominationalism, basically just Baptists. But those would be Abrahamic religions. But Islam is not an Abrahamic religion in any way, shape, or form. It is in my opinion, it is more akin to a attempt to syncretize the Abrahamic tradition with the Arab pagan tradition, and as a result, it's not really any more Abrahamic than, for example, Sikhism, which tries to synthesize elements of Islam and Hinduism, but no one says anything about Sikhism being an Abrahamic religion, right? Just because you claim that your religion comes from Abraham doesn't necessarily mean that your religion actually comes from the tradition of the Abrahamic peoples, right? So anyway, also you can tell us by just like, if you actually closely examine what Islam teaches about its God, you can tell that it's like, oh, it is actually not part of the Abrahamic tradition.
How the heck Our sister knew somehow this Satan, and we worship in the shrine. We don't even know that. What?
That's crazy that someone would even attempt to say that they're worshiping Satan in their shrines. What the fuck?
I hate to tell you this, Kirsha. It's not just the Muslims who say this. It really is not just the Muslims who say this. Find a lot of brain-rotted people in the church who will say exactly that with the exact same vigor as the Muslims. And they think you're crazy if you point out it's like they could just be wrong, right? Like I've met these people. They also exist.
Professor John Wolf.
But I do also think one of those individuals back, because I mentioned back in the day when the War Memorial Shrine was set on fire. Or was attempted to be set on fire. I think it was one of those whack jobs that was trying to do that, but I'd have to double check that.
Thank you. Shrines burn when they're set on fire, Kirsha. It do be like that, Mr. John Wolfman.
Shintoism is not even a religion. God damn. 3rd of January.
I guess, yeah, that's also fair. It's more like a cultural aspected thing more so than a religion, but they do have, like, gods in it, so it's just simpler to say religion for the most of us.
This idea that it's just a cultural expression is a very specifically modern Japanese take. If you were to go back in time and ask the Japanese, like the older Japanese, whether or not Shinto was a religion, you would get a pretty universal response of, yes, it is both a way of life and a religion, right?
Pork farm in Hokkaido was set on fire, was burned, and 20th of February.
Hello, Torst Wolf.
got
how are you doing?
Wait a
pork
minute.
farm in Aichi got burned down. Another pork farm in April again. These are all the things.
So, I mean, obviously I can't read this, and you didn't go through the entire list, but, like, I'm assuming with the emojis, like, this is a pork farm, January, February. In April, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 farms, 2 pork, 1 chicken, 2 cow. And then I guess this one is separate from the farm, so these must be historical site fires, and 2 of them have the Shinto gate, so those must be the shrines that burned down, and the other one.
Yeah. So if you can't tell, you can't see my mouse, right? But in that second section right there, you see in the brackets the first word. There's 2 words separated by a bullet point, the interpunct. The word on the left-hand side is jinja, which is a shrine. Again, we're talking like Shinto shrine. And the word on the right-hand side is, it's the word that refers to a Buddhist temple. I don't remember specifically what that is called. It's been a while.
Ones are just regular historical sites. That's kind of crazy.
So yeah, you'll also notice that, like, if you look at the names of these sites as you go down, the last parts of each of these lines, the ones that end in the second character for Jinja are, again, the shrines, and oftentimes it is Jinja. Like, Kirsha's mouse is over the Jin part of Jinja, but yeah. Sometimes you'll find it with just the Ja, sometimes you'll find it Jinja, but you'll notice that, like, it is the first character in the second word for the Buddhist temples, and yeah, that's just how the naming scheme works.
January, February, March, not March, April, and then May. We're only 5 months in, and they've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 farms, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 like shrines and other historical stuff burned down.
Again, it really activates the almonds, doesn't it, right? It really activates the almonds. It's like, huh. It's almost as if there's a consistent pattern. Again, ask yourself, what happened to all the Buddhist artifacts in Afghanistan, right? Torst Wolf says, I am doing great, getting ready to head to work soon. Hope you're doing well as well. Oh, thank you. Hope you have a good day at work. But, yeah, we're just talking about what's going on in Japan right now. Yeah, like, ask yourself, what happened to let me see if I can find it, actually. Because if I can find it, I can give you an example of, like, in practice, exactly what I'm talking about.
Shrines and temples. That's insane. Burning churches, shrines, and statues as part of their religion and culture. Yep. I remember when I was younger watching, like, some giant Buddhist statues get torn down by ISIS and being like, why would anyone allow this? Like, why would anyone look at this and think that, like, oh, this is a religion of peace? Like, not only are they destroying artifacts? They're trying to destroy the history so people in the future will not even know anything about, like, where they lived or grew up or came from. It was the Taliban who destroyed the biggest Buddhas all the way back in the 80s, and the world still hasn't learned. I don't remember the ones in the 80s. I do remember watching a video, and I don't remember if it was in the 2000s or the 2010s, but there was a video of, and I'm pretty sure it was ISIS, who were tearing down these large... they looked like terracotta color, but I don't know what they were made out of. They were like two large Buddhist statues. I don't think they were of the Buddha, but they were Buddhism statues that were like set into a cliffside.
That got burned down.
Okay, yeah, I did find what I'm pretty sure is the video. So, yeah, to anyone who doesn't necessarily remember this. It's hard to see because of the granularity here, but that is still a Buddha statue in there. If you see here and you zoom in, you can actually even see the human form in there. So this is an actual still existing Buddha statue from the time Afghanistan was a Buddhist country, because it turns out Afghanistan wasn't always Muslim. Tor Swift says burning / tearing down statues is funnily a thing leftists and Muslims agree on. Oh yeah. Yes, they actually do agree on it. And again, even other modern context, we have this.
This morning ISIS claims to
I'm not dealing with your copyright claims, you bastards. Here we go. Just again, ISIS comes in, destroys all of these historical artifacts about times before Islam, right? That's the entire point. The entire point is to destroy all that comes before, from before. Partly because Islam also makes claims about the past that just aren't true, right? So there's also a incentive to destroy artifacts in the past to protect Islam itself, because it turns out Islam, again, promotes taqiyya and kitman, which are literally just sacralized lying. So
This ear. One thing that I want to tell you, everybody, is that I don't want you to feel negative. Negativity is not bring any good fortune for our life. We have to stay positive. That's why when I do YouTube channel, I'll try to be funnier than being sad or angry, you know. So I hope you have a...
I try the same thing. Often people be like, Kirsha, you read so much depressing stuff. How do you stay chipper? And it's like, well, you just fucking gotta, man. Like if you give in to the black pill, that's when you start giving up, and you're like, oh, it doesn't matter. None of this matters, man. And it does. And like if I start being more like depressing instead of encouraging people to get involved and do more, then more people will also get depressed. Like I want to be a force for good, a force for people to like understand, yeah, things might be bad, but it's getting better, and I can even do things myself to help improve it. Emotions are contagious, good and bad. Absolutely. Absolutely. Respect for this
Great
guy.
day. May force be with you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Fair enough. Okay, so there was the Kirsha part of this conversation, right? But yeah, don't black pill people, right? Do not black pill. There, you know, as long as you have breath, there is still life and hope, man. Right? There's still something you can do so long as you live. So do not black pill. I speak as someone who black pilled pretty fucking hard, right? Like, I no longer black pill because it does nothing good.
It is your friendly Nempa Jingo, and today I've got news coming out of Japan. Suspicious news, actually. Japanese temples that have stood for hundreds of years, untouched, without anything happening to them, have all suddenly started catching fire and burning down.
By the way, this guy is an ex-Muslim, I believe, from the Maldives, right? Which, so as you would imagine, there are people gunning for this guy.
Now add to this the fact that it is not just a one-off that's happening. These are multiple instances of temples burning down in succession. Now, you might immediately think, wait a minute, I've seen this happen before. And yes, you have. You've seen this in Europe as well, where churches and cathedrals have all mysteriously caught fire, many completely destroyed. Even they had stood for hundreds of years before a certain something started happening. And what is that something? Well, that certain something being a correlation where Europe has been importing millions of people who openly hate Christianity, who openly talk about taking over Europe, and many of whom openly have been damaging churches and attacking them. Of course, these are Muslims. And it is not inaccurate to say that Japan has also been importing a large number of Muslims, record numbers of Muslims that they had never ever experienced before, which is exactly why temples that had stood for hundreds of years untouched are now facing the same. Have a look at this video where you can see each of them, 8 sites, burnt in succession.
Yeah, so since he's not going to read it, I'm just going to read it here. 8 religious sites burned in succession. Why is nobody screaming hate crime or discrimination? Well, it's because the people who scream hate crime and discrimination don't actually care about hate crime and discrimination. Screaming these words is an attempt to weaponize your morality against you. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to weaponize your conception of what is good and bad against yourself. So don't let them do that, right?
警察によりますと、16日午後6時45分頃、高岡市の大宝寺で屋根から黒煙と炎が見えると。
So 8 religious sites burned and oh, okay, that's literally what was on there.
に住む人から消防に通報がありました。現場は住宅が密集した地域で、火はおよそ9時間後に消し止められました。
風向きこっちの方やったんで。
I don't think there was a translation for the previous video, but you can see here the aftermath of this temple. So this person here says this was another historical temple destroyed in Japan, in Takaoka. This is how the 573-year-old Daifuku-ji temple was left, which was consumed by fire on Saturday the 16th. The temple housed important and invaluable cultural treasures. Authorities claim it was arson, and illegal immigrants who do not eat pork are suspected. Japan is being attacked not only physically, but also on a cultural level. This is, guys.
Yeah, because the whole thing is, again, it's about conquest, right? They can't win in a physical confrontation normally, so they've changed tactics, right? Because if Islam actually can't conquer the world, then Islam is untrue, because Islam is predicated under the idea they will conquer the world. And if they can't, well, they've either been abandoned by Allah or Allah's promises were false, right?
It's sad.
And actually, hold on. I did find some of these verses I was talking about, right? So here we have Quran.com, which is actually a very useful website for anyone who doesn't necessarily want to get like 5 copies of the Quran, right? But so here we have Surah 98 and Ayah 6. Indeed, those who disbelieve from the people of the book and the polytheists. So the people of the book are the people who believe in the Kitab. These are the books that Allah had sent to the people. These include the Torah, which is the Torah and apparently the Talmud, the Injil, which is the Gospel, and there's a book of Abraham that I can't remember the name of off the top of my head, but we don't have a book of Abraham, so it doesn't really fucking matter. So that would be them. So it's like if you're a Jew, a Christian, or a Samaritan, or if you are a polytheist, so will be in the fire of hell to stay there forever. Why? They are the worst of all beings. It's also translated the worst of all creatures, but now, the decisions on how to translate that verse in particular notwithstanding, right? My OBS is crashing. This is very unfortunate for me. Why is my OBS crashing? Okay. Okay, that's unfortunate. Let's just okay. So we had to ride out the wave because let's see. Kionala says, to be honest, I was here for Wedding Witch gameplay, but got arson. Oh, sorry. Did I forget to change? Oh, I forgot to change the fucking name for the YouTube thing. I'm sorry. Kionala says, I'm heading to bed. Good night. You have a good night, Kionala. I'll make sure to change the name for the YouTube stream when I stream next time. But I also go here. Fight those who do not believe in Allah and the last day, nor comply with what Allah and his messenger have forbidden, nor embrace the religion of truth from among those who were given the scripture, until they pay the tax, this is the jizya, and willingly submitting, fully humbled. So again, this is about like breaking the spirit of the people. What is the command? Fight those who do not believe in Allah and the last day. So believing in Allah is not enough. You have to also believe in the last day. You must also fight those who do not comply with Allah and Allah and his messenger have forbidden. So if you don't keep halal, and you instead do haram, then yes, you must be fought under a Sharia context, right? You must be persecuted. So let's think about it. Again, why are pork industries being attacked in Japan? Well, it turns out, what's one thing that's forbidden in Islam? Eating pork. What is commanded? Fight those who do not comply with what Allah and his messenger have forbidden, nor embrace the religion of truth from among those people who were given the scripture. So again, we can cut out the religion among those people of the scripture part, because again, it's kind of right here, those who do not believe in Allah on the last day. So again, if you don't believe in the religion of Islam, you should be fought. Hence, we see attacks on the shrines and the temples, right? Because they do not believe in Islam, Allah and his messenger. And we see attacks on the porks industry because, again, it is something forbidden the Japanese do, so that must be fought as well. So if you wanted why those two specific things, this is why. But anyway, let us continue, right? That is not what I meant to press.
こんな燃え方しないですよ。火を放たなければ。自然火災じゃないですよ、これは。
Yeah, there's literally nothing left. That's almost 600 years of history completely gone. This cannot be recovered anymore. And the fact that
well, it's not that the building itself is history. The things inside it are history, right? If it has any books, any kind of scrolls, that would be the history. That would be the documentation, because history is about documentation of history. But the thing with the building is it's a direct connection between, again, the now and 600 years ago, because it endured between, 600 years ago and apparently only now finally fell, right? So again, this would have been the same temple, even if it had to undergo renovations before, that people 573 years ago were walking through, right? And now it's gone. So there's that steady piece, again, that connected the past to the future, the past to the present, and would have connected the future, has been destroyed out of spite. So
it's not just a one, it's not a one-off. And if it were a one-off, you could be like, oh yeah, that probably was an accident, maybe lightning, maybe there was an electrical issue, something off that manner. But when 6 go down in the exact same manner, where they were burnt down, and we know that there have been an illegal immigration issue in Japan as well. And there have been a lot of issues around Muslims pushing the Japanese people around things like burials and halal meat and prayer spaces, praying in front of historical temples.
And again, the praying in front of historical temples is a domination tactic, right? I was like, oh, you can't make me stop, right? So instead, I'm going to humiliate you by making you feel uncomfortable. Then you had, again, the pushing for halal stations, stop eating pork, even though pork is a major part of your historical diet, right? Why? Because it is haram. Allah has said not to do this, so therefore you must do this, or you must be fought tooth and nail. All of these things relate back to that intolerance we were just talking about. Hold on.
It's around Muslims pushing the Japanese people around things like burials and halal meat.
Again, even the burial thing, right? You're not supposed to cremate in Islam, right? But cremation is the tradition in Japan. right? So obviously it's like, oh yeah, and there's also the thing again is like these people aren't citizens. Most of these people are not actually citizens. They come over to Japan, they refuse to get their citizenship, and they still demand to be treated a particular way. And instead, what ends up happening is this becomes a vector for them to, again, try to humiliate the Japanese people. And how do they do this? Well, they fight them on this issue about burial in Japan, when it's like, well, you didn't come from here, first of all. You don't have any family from here, second of all. Third of all, you're not even a citizen. So even if you you don't even meet the basic minimum for the ties here, right? So this is all to humiliate the Japanese. This is malicious.
And prayer spaces, praying in front of historical temples,
blocking roads to do the prayers. That's another thing that has been pointed out. And again, it's a humiliation tactic.
Trying to build mosques funded suspiciously by places like Qatar and the Muslim Brotherhood. The same thing that's happening in...
It's always funny how, like, when Muslims are, like, coordinating to, like, again, harangue and harass non-Muslim countries, it's always a different group that gets blamed for this, right? Not to say that, again, there aren't conspiratorial elements from a bunch of different factions. I have a 5-hour video talking about, like, conspiratorial bullshittery from dispensationalists in the United States, from Chabadniks in, like, again, Israel, and from Twelverists in Iran, and how they all benefit from each other's bullshit, even though they have different goals. But yeah, no, everything always gets flattened out to the same, oh yeah, one group of people actually rules the world. It's like, no, we got a bunch of different evil groups that are actually trying to coordinate with each other because they actually mutually benefit from each other's bullshittery, right? But anyway, I digress. Yes, this is definitely a Qatari thing. Sorry, I get a little annoyed when people hyperfixate on one thing, and it's like you're missing the forest for the... Oh, this is thunder.
Europe is now starting to happen in Japan, despite the Japanese pushing back really hard. Quick note before we move on, please remember to give the video a like and hit subscribe. The channel is almost entirely fan supported, so if you want to support the work and the mission behind it, consider joining Patreon. That's what keeps the channel alive and gives you early access. It's completely ad-free on long and uncensored videos, written articles, and member-only chats. And here are some more photos from the same site. It's just crazy. Here's something very interesting I thought of from this tweet. So the fire broke out at 3:30 p.m. There was no electricity running through it. They don't use candles. From what can be seen at the scene, it is clear that someone set the fire. And obviously the Japanese people, they even protested against Muslims building a mosque previously. And apparently this mosque, it's breaking a lot of city planning laws. I did a video about that where they took to the streets complaining that there are secret burial rooms, and the fact that they had just completely lied to authorities about the purposes of that mosque. Now, I saw this video being shared on Japanese Twitter.
Again, as I said earlier, the whole idea that, again, some of these people are lying to do this stuff doesn't exactly surprise me. Kitman and Takiya, again, Islam permits you to give a full lie or a half-truth in order to promote, the cause of Islam.
Twitter, which I love, by the way. And they found this Malaysian Muslim, Dr. Zulkarnain Hassan Basri, who works at the Japan Dawah Center in Osaka. Why the fuck does Japan need a Dawah Center?
I would agree, right? It's like, there is no place for Dawah in Japan. Islam is not going to help Japan in any meaningful fashion. It is only going to hurt Japan. There is no need for a Dawah center there, right? Just blatant point of fact.
Honestly, nothing good is going to come to Japan if Islam is allowed to spread in numbers. And usually Islam doesn't spread because a lot of Japanese people are suddenly converting. That doesn't happen. The only way it happens, and just like in Europe, just like in Australia and the US, the only way Islam grows is because governments allow it to grow by importing massive numbers of immigrants to come into these countries. And usually they'll throw out excuses like, oh yeah, economic reasons or tourists or whatever.
We're not having enough babies, so we got to import people to replace the native population. Well, there goes my light. Hopefully I can get through this video before, instead of having it cut off halfway through, right? But yeah, no, I was like, yeah. When they do this is out of spite for the natives.
But as I say many times, usually starts really slow. First, they talk about providing them with halal foods, and suddenly everybody bends over backwards. Then they might ask for prayer spaces, and slowly it keeps going.
Yeah, because these people believe they deserve it. They believe they're entitled to this, these things, when they're not, right? Because if they were entitled to these things, then they would be entitled to the service of other people, which obviously they're not entitled to. But, I digress, right? Again, it's all about humiliating the unbeliever and humiliating your enemy, because these people, the actual true believers, see you as a cultural inferior. Again, they have the perfect religion, the final revelation. You can't tell them anything that they need to know. All the things that are told that need to be learned come from them to you, right? It really is just that simple.
Suddenly they ask to blast the call to prayer 5 times a day, and by that point,
again, humiliation tactic.
It's already too late. It's taken root, and it's very hard to get rid of. Now, going back to this guy, he's talking about, this video is in Japanese, so even if I play it, I can't translate it. But apparently, what he's saying to other Muslims coming to visit Japan, he's saying, please understand that Shinto shrines and Buddhist temples are places where devils tempt people. And by people, he's talking about Muslims. So no wonder all these temples are suddenly burning down very mysteriously, because we have people here openly saying this is a place where the devil exists. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to connect the dots here, does it?
Actually, this kind of reminds me of a leftist tactic of stochastic terrorism, right? Setting up a situation where, again, some lone person in a will carry out violence on your behalf without directly linking to you yourself.
And this graph here actually connects it really, really well. So this shows a direct correlation between Shinto shrine and Buddhist temple fires with the rise of mosque. And this is the other question. So guys, you always hear about cathedrals and churches catching...
I mean, correlation does not equal causation, but let's be fair, we all knew what was going on. This does actually at least help us, fit that correlation.
Fine burning down in Europe. And yet, this is weird, never hear about mosques catching fire and burning down. The number of mosques have grown exponentially in Europe in the past couple of decades. They're modern, they have electricity, and yet none of them seem to catch fire. All of the mysterious, or rather suspicious fires happen in places of worship that are not Muslim. And look at this graph here. The number of fires have gone up exponentially, tracking the number of mosques that have been built in Japan.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely plausible deniability, right? I mean, what do you... to be perfectly honest, right? What do you think is going on when a certain Twitch streamer, is on Twitch and he says, if you really cared about healthcare, you would kill Rick Scott, right? Or don't get yourself killed doing this stuff, buy some Chinese drones, right? Or any of that other stuff. What do you think is going on there, right? That is the definition of trying to instigate stochastic terrorism. And Islam does the stochastic terrorism all the time.
That is crazy. And if the number of mosques getting built...
It just so happens communists also do this.
...are getting higher and higher, that obviously implies that the Islamic population is also growing in Japan.
Yep.
Despite, I would assume, what a large majority of Japanese do not want in the country, which is a parallel society where Muslims essentially live according to Islamic laws and not Japanese culture.
And I hate to say this, but again, Japan and the United Kingdom actually have some interesting parallels with each other. Especially, that would make a whole episode on its own that I can't record right now. But there's a lot of interesting parallels between Japan and the United Kingdom, like the British, Empire. But what was I saying? Oh yeah. And in both cases, we do have this issue of the monarch kind of just like in absentia, right? The monarch in Japan is a ceremonial figure, obviously, right? And this is a really good argument for returning the legal authority of the monarch of Japan back to where it was beforehand, right? So the monarch can actually act and decree when necessary, right? Because that's kind of the entire point of the monarch. But one of my main criticisms of monarchy is the exact criticism people give of like constitutional republics. The whole idea of, if it, for a constitutional republic, the idea of like either your constitution permitted this or it was unable to stop it, in which case it is unfit to exist. I kind of feel the same way about monarchs, right? You know, like either, you know, the monarchy with under Elizabeth II and, you know, Charles, you know, either, you know, it permitted this to happen, you know, sanctioned it, or was powerless to stop it. Either way, it's unfit to, you know, persist. You know, that would be my particular 2 cents on that. And again, I don't really see how Japan is in any different of a position right now. Although, to be fair, the Japanese have the excuse of the Americans kind of took away the power of their emperor, right? So it's not it's not necessarily their fault, but you know that the politicians that are doing this to them, right, unfit to be in their positions of power under that logic.
This will destroy Japan, by the way.
Yes.
If they allow this to happen, just have a look at.
This is part of the global homogenization effort to destroy Japan. Japan has to be destroyed for the global homogenization project because Japan proves that an ethno-state can actually be peaceful, stable, and high trust, right? That, again, diversity is not necessary. The diversity, as the communists define it, is not a strength, right? That, in fact, homogeneity, like natural homogeneity, is actually a strength at times, and diversity is a strength at other times. But they both have to exist in their own proper respective contexts. And properly defined, right? Because let's be fair, diversity from a communist perspective just means not straight white male. Let's be perfectly fucking honest, right? Like, you could have a communist in many cases where it's like, oh yeah, it's the most diverse group you've ever seen, and it's like the most homogenous thing you've ever seen in your life, right? It's just not it's just not their definition of a dominant population group.
Europe. This exact same thing will happen in Japan. And the same graph can be seen right here in Europe, where the number of fires have gone up exponentially with immigration numbers from Islamic countries. Like I said before, you don't have to be some sort of genius to figure out what's happening here. Whether you like it or not, whether you want to confront the problem head on, whether you want to stick your head in the ground and ignore the problem of Islam, which is what a lot of people seem to do these days.
Yeah, because to be fair, a lot of people don't really want to think about this stuff, right? And it's like, what do I care about this religion that's not mine? Well, I mean, you may not care about it, but certainly cares about you, right? You may not care about it, but it certainly cares about you, right? And not in a good way. It's like this whole thing of like, I just want to grill. I hate to say this, but it is the people who just want to grill who are the reason we are in this position, to be perfectly honest, right? And I understand, like, taking responsibility for, again, the situation is a real pain in the ass. But the issue is again, in a contest of people who just want to grill versus a contest of people who want to see systemic change to the world as it is, right? Whether they, you know, and these are usually apocalypticists of some kind. The apocalypticists will always win because it turns out they have an incentive structure that promotes them getting involved in changing the system, whereas the person who just wants to grill has no such incentive structure, and they will always lose because by the time they even notice what's going on, it's already too late.
It is a...
That's not to say that, again, we are in a lost situation. We can still win this. We just can't rely on the people who just want to grill.
Problem that will come to you. It will face you. It will confront you if you don't confront it.
It will destroy you.
The best way to deal with it is to face the problem head on before the problem becomes way too big to fix, which is what a lot of countries like Europe are facing right now. If the UK or France or Germany decided to fix these problems, say 10 years ago, maybe 15, 20 years ago, what they are experiencing today would not have happened.
Absolutely.
But they did not want to. And they said there is an acceptable number of casualties, whether it be women who are SA'd, whether it be people who are murdered, whether it be churches, temples, all being burnt down, whether it be their history being spat on. All these countries and their government said, yeah, there is an acceptable number. And now that problem is significantly harder to fix. And hopefully the Japanese people will realize this sooner rather than later. And on that note, that is all I have for today. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment your thoughts down below. Enjoy the song that's coming up, and I'll see you next time.
Enjoy the song that's coming. Okay, fair enough, right? But yeah, no, he is absolutely right? And again, I keep telling people you will be absolutely surprised what people are going to be willing to put up with. And yeah, it turns out the people who just want to grill, they will put up with a lot worse than what's going on right now. So again, you cannot rely on the people who just want to grill, right? If you can convince people that if they want to just grill, they have to get up and fight, that'll be one thing, right? Those people you can actually trust because they have an incentive to actually to actually get involved. But yeah, no, like you got to fight hard to protect, again, your culture, your people, your way of life, right? To make sure that again, your people go on the right path, but you can't rely on, again, the people who just want to grill, who won't actually crack open a Quran and actually read it, let alone the hadith of like the 5 books or the 4 books. It's just not going to happen. You can't rely on these people. But yeah, I do think Japan has a ability to turn this around in a way that the United Kingdom and Germany don't have anymore. I think Germany and the United Kingdom could, if they really knuckled down and really wanted to, they could get a handle on the situation. It would not be very PR friendly, right? Because it would involve the mass deportation of people who shouldn't be in their countries in the first place because they got there under false pretenses. But, it's one of those shit out of luck things, right? So yeah, that was the Cyberpunk Dingoes commentary on the issue of the burning shrines in Japan, and I largely agree, right? I think we could probably go into why specifically again, shrines and the pork farms are being attacked, which I did cite, right? And the Quran is not like the Bible. It's not like the Torah. It's not like the Vedas. It is a very unique tradition of again, it says what it means and it means what it says, right? Again, there's like 11 verses in the Quran that tell you how to read the Quran, and it's not poetry. It's not, the metaphor. It means what it says what it means. Unlike, again, with the Bible, which tells you how to read it in, books like the Acts of the Apostles, where it's like, oh yeah, no, you need an apostolic tradition to help you actually understand the Bible. Or, for example, in the case of like the case of like the Upanishads, which again have hermeneutical advice telling you how to read the Upanishads, and it's like, oh yeah, no, it's not all literal. It's not all literal. So, but yeah, the Quran actually is fairly literal. So it's like when it says it means what it says. Okay, so I've rambled on about this enough. If you're watching on YouTube, that's all I wanted to say. So hopefully this was informative, and hopefully I provided enough content to make this transformative. But if you're seeing us on YouTube, thank you for giving me your time. I know it was like 2 hours of your time, but y'all have a lovely day. Okay, stop recording. Okay, so the recording is stopped. And I did start later than normal, so while I would usually go on for like another hour or two, I don't really have that time. So I am going to raid someone. Let me check to see who's on and available to raid, and then I'll send us all there. Let's see, go to creator dashboard. Let's see, stream manager. Raid channel, here we go. Let's see who we got currently on. Give me one moment. Sure, Chicken Tender, you can throw me an idea. I'm not going to be able to watch it right now, but I'll put it in the queue. Or if you mean like for me to make, then like again, I can't make it right now, but I'll be able to put it in the queue. So what's your idea? Who do we have? I'm not seeing a lot. What a funny name. That's actually a genuinely funny name. Holy crap. All right, let me check one thing. Gurren Lagann is anti. You know what? You're not wrong. You are not wrong. I would have to go and rewatch Gurren Lagann in order to get that to like the proper density that I would require it. Because you know what? I'll show you it right now. Because I've actually done an anime video essay beforehand. Hold on. Let's go. Yeah, okay. I forgot to change the fucking name to the thing. So I've got one video on an anime video essay, and it is on Darling in the Franxx and how it's the most pro-life and pro-human anime ever made. But that was still like an hour long, so I would definitely have to rewatch Gurren Lagann to do that, which I'm not opposed to. Gurren Lagann is a good show. I would just have to rewatch it to take notes, because I had to rewatch Darling in the Franxx to take the appropriate notes to write that essay. But yeah, I can put that on there. Let me write that down, actually. So, Gurren Lagann is anti-communist. All right, I've got that in the queue. This is definitely going to be a fun project. Let's see. Oh, excuse me. Oh, thank you. Yeah, Doctor of Insanity. Yeah, I apologize for messing up his audio on that. Was not. I kind of fumbled on that one, but yeah, it was fun to go over it. It's like I did notice a lot of mistakes I made in it. And I was like, well, that's I gotta correct that next time I make a video essay. Okay, give me still looking for someone to stream to raid. Let's see. Yeah, that's not what I meant. Ooh, Leaflet's on. Hold on. Leaflet and Powder are streaming together. Fucking hell, mate. Okay, fair enough. In that case, let's see. She's technically in these groups, so why not? Let's see. Let's raid Leaflet. Start raid. Wait, what? What's going on here? Saying I can't raid Leaflet for some reason. Audio wasn't too bad, and I really liked that you went back over it and made corrections. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to, again, correct yourself when you make mistakes, right? It's like... It's about having like personal integrity at that point. It's like, well, I fucked up and this is where I fucked up kind of deal, right? Okay, so it said I can't raid Leaflet and I'm not entirely sure why, so let's try Powder. Okay. Seems like the stream is... It seems like the raid is setting up. So, we'll see you there in a little bit. Let me get the thing. Okay, so there's an added thing of protection there. That's why I was doing that. Okay. So, Powder is a little bit... yeah, you know, fuck it, we'll just do it. Okay, so I'm going to put the link in chat. So if you're on YouTube